Good morning. Here I am in my messy room with my beard that's increasingly looking like Santa Claus. I need to trim it soon. This is the week 4 IT 111 check in video. Most of you are doing really well. As I said, if you're having problems, a couple of things. Let's look at for one, look at the discussions. We do have um, so I'm going to look at this. We do have a discussion group, and it is monitored by our TA. So use the discussion group when you have questions. Get hold of the TA so that you can get, for Douglas, so that you can get some help. Um, and you can also ask me and, you know, just try to get as much feedback as possible. Let's go back to the modules. So what's coming up? Is the modules home? Yeah. What's coming up are basically chapter 2, and these cover a lot of different things. So I thought I would talk about a few of those things. I have uploaded or opened up Idle, and I thought I would make a little program. And I'm going to have this program, it'll determine how many vans and cars are needed for a field trip and how much each person will have to pay. And again, the idea is to show the variables, types, and expressions in various operators in Python as presented in Zybooks Chapter 2. Won't cover everything, but it'll give you a quick kind of preview if you haven't looked in there yet. The book should do a better job of introducing this, but I thought I'd give you a little bit. So let's create a variable. We'll say van capacity. All right, and we're going to say it equals 7. That means that the van capacity can have 7 people. This is the assignment operator, and it can have spaces or not as you wish. It's not the equal sign. Basically, we're creating a variable which will store the value that we assign to it, and this is the assignment operator. Right? It won't work in the sense of an equality. It's just assignment. So van capacity equals 7. Okay, so we're saying that the van capacity has a 7. I'm going to make another. These are actually also, so I'm going to say van price equals 75. Let's make it 75.50 for just to make thing. So this is an integer. So I'm going to make a little comment here. Integer, which is a whole number, no decimals. So the pound sign is for a single line comment, right? And these are for multiple line comments. This is a float, which is a decimal. You know, it has value that has decimals. Python doesn't have very many data types. And notice I didn't declare this as an int. I didn't declare this as a float. It interprets it to be whatever. It interprets it to be a float because it has a decimal point. It interprets it to be an integer because it does not have a decimal point. Numbers, I mean, that's one of the good things, and it's also occasionally a bad thing about Python, is that it basically just assumes the data types. I'm going to say there are also cars, and I'm going to do a car capacity equals 4. So we're just setting up some variables and constants. This is a naming convention. It's actually not the one I use most of the time, but it's the one that the book suggests. And it's when you look at a variable, it has to start with a letter. It cannot have anything like a dollar sign or exclamation point. It cannot have any spaces, but it can have underscores. Underscores are legal, right? So this is one naming convention. Another one would be to leave out this and do van and then capitalize C. That's actually what I usually do, but again, I'm trying to follow the conventions in the thing. So let's do car price too. And let's say that car price is about 45.75. I'm just making these numbers up out of my head, obviously. All right, so I'm going to do another kind of thing here. I am going to do number of participants. So notice I'm being very wide here, very verbose. It's really useful if your variables are readable, that they make sense in terms of when somebody looks at it, they know exactly what they're seeing. To do like VC or X or Y or Z doesn't help read the code, and readability is important. So I'm going to say that this equals int input. Enter the number of participants, colon space. All right. So this is an input. This takes in values. Let's see, user put in a value. In Zybooks, usually when you enter the values, they're a little box down in the bottom below the lab or whatever. In idle, it will ask me for the input. So we're saying that this input is an integer, that it'll throw an error if there's anything other than a whole number with no decimal parts. Okay. So I am going to, let's say, I'm trying to think of how I want to do this. Let's say that we'll just call this vans. Oops, my cap lock is on. Vans. This is the number of vans, so I guess we could say number of vans. Is equal to the number of participants divided by van capacity. And that needs an underscore because it has to match. These have to match the variables. We're using the variables names to represent those numbers. And again, it makes it more readable. This, I don't know if the chapter introduces this. This is a integer division. That means that it's going to only show a whole number as a result. So I am going to do print number of vans. All right. And I'm actually going to, we're not done with this program by any means, but I'm going to run it at this case to see if it works. So I'm going to say main down here. So we'll run the main. I have to save this. So I'm going to do file, save as. I will go to my computer, documents, Python, programs, and I'm going to call this one let's call it field trip. Okay, and it'll be field trip.py. So now I can run this. We'll see if it works. So I'm going to say 100 people. Ooh, so I did not like. I spelled it wrong. I did. Notice I left out the T. So let's resave and rerun. So I'm going to do 100. And it says there's 14 vans. Right, but 7 doesn't go evenly into 7 doesn't go evenly into 100. So let's figure out the leftovers. I'm just going to call it leftover or extra people. Maybe call it extra people. Equals the same equation as above here. So I'm actually going to just copy this. But I'm going to put a percent sign here. The percent sign is what's called a modulus, and it returns the remainder. So I'm going to print extra people. So I'll save and I'll run. A couple of things. It's actually, so I'm going to do 100 again. And there's 2 extra people, so we really only need 1 car. All right, but let's do an equation for that. So number of cars equals extra people I don't know that this will work. Extra if we divide it by car capacity, we'll get 0, and we need 1. I don't want to do an if statement here because we're not there yet. Let's try car capacity. I think it's going to come up 0. But I did do a single. It'll give us a maybe a percentage. Let's try that. File, save. Notice this one only has 1. It's just a straight division. I'm not sure that that's what we really need. There is an if statement, but that's for later. So we do 100, and we need like a half a car, right? So we need 1 car. We need All right. So what we need is 14 vans and 1 car. So I'm going to do, this is just cheating because I'm not doing an if statement. All right. I will do an if statement, but you don't have to do this. If number of cars greater than 0, and less than 1 is what it should say, but is that right? Okay, I just wanted to make sure the indentation was right. This is something for later, and I would want a second condition to say if it's less than 0, greater than 0 but less than 1, it's still a 1. But right now we're just going to do that. So, we want to do a total cost. Let's do that. The total cost is number of vans times van price plus number of cars times car price. Now this will work all by itself because of the order of operations. It will do this multiplication first, this multiplication second, and then it will add the two together. But if you want to be really clear about what's going on, you can put parentheses around these, and that guarantees that they're done first. They would be anyway, but that might make it more readable. So it's going to do this multiplication, and it's going to add the result of this multiplication. So I will do print total cost, and we'll save this, and we'll run it again, and then we're almost done. We'll get, oops, I forgot my underscore, right? So you get little warnings, and that's a compile error as opposed to a runtime error. So I'll save again, and I'll run, and I'll do 100. Oops, right here. So we'll do 100, and it didn't like number is not defined. Oh, notice I also did another typo. Number of cars. Does clear do anything here? No. I'm going to close this. All right. Again, I'm going to save. I'm going to run. I closed it so that we could be back at the top. 100. Okay, so the price is a 1,275. Okay, so that's good. And what I want to do, one last thing. I am going to say price cost per person. equals total cost divided by number of participants. So first I'm going to just do print cost per participant. And then we'll do a little bit more with that. So I'm going to save. I'm going to run. So I have an error. Again, participant is not spelled right somehow. Cost per person. Again, it has to match the variable that's actually storing it. File, save, run module, 100. So it's $11 and 0.275. So that's brings up part of what I wanted to show. We would want that to be like it's about 2 cents, closer to 3. So there's a couple of things we can do. One is you can do, I'm going to do quotes, curly brace, colon 2, close quote, dot, format. So they do this, they show this format. And what it'll do is it'll leave it as 2 decimal places. And if I run it, so actually let's kill this. I wanted to kill that whole thing. Let's run it again. I just wanted to get it at the top. 100. Whoa, it didn't do it. Oh, it's because I did a comma. I want a dot there. File, save, run. So 100. Still didn't do it. Why did it not do it? I will look into that. That should work. Save. Okay. Gonna kill this again. Run. I didn't like the F2. I'm gonna have to look up the format. That should work. If I looked at Zybooks, we could find that. Does this one have the format? U dot point to F. All right. So if we go back, see how it has it here, dot 4, and then the F is after. So this is my dyslexia, just from forgetting. All right, so if we save that, we run it again. 100, and there it is with the 2. And it automatically rounded, as you see. So let's just do a quickie review of this. These are variables. Variables are have to start with a letter. They can have no spaces, but they can have underscores, and this is one naming convention. This is the assignment. It assigns a value to be stored in that variable. It's stored in memory. Car capacity, so these are all different things. This is an integer. This is a float. This is an integer. This is a float. What's in quotes here is a string, and it talks a little bit about this. This is taking things in as an input. It's declaring it as an integer and assigning it to a variable. These are what they call Python expressions. The double thing here is integer division, which means no decimal parts. This is modulus, which is the remainder. What is the remainder of it? This is regular division. This is if statements for later. We've got the again another expression. We print that, and then formatting. Now another thing that they're going to have you do here is to import a library. So import math. And I don't remember if math is capitalized or not. Let's go back. Let's go here. Math module. It is lowercase. And it gives you, when you import a library, it gives you additional functionality. I think that's most of what you'll be covering. So I'm going to let that be the end of this video. Good luck. Ask questions as you need to. And we'll see. Have a good week.